Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting and informative Investing.com webinar. We will be giving you guys a walk through all of the wonderful and amazing features available on Investing.com, both free and paid. I'm your host, Dave Schechter. We're going to go ahead and get started in just a little bit, but we're going to give it another minute or two for more people to join. In the meantime, it would be great if you want to mention your name and where you are joining us from today in the chat. And in general, do let me know in the chat if you guys can hear me okay and see the slide that is on my screen. Just another note, there is about a 5 to 7 second delay in between when you write and when I can see it. So I can see, I got hello from Econ Sam 79 that is based in London, UK. Welcome. Welcome, Sammy. Thanks for joining. Anybody else want to let us know where they're from while we wait for others to join? We have Roberto from Italy. Sounds good. Thank you, Roberto, for letting me know. And we have Luca joining from Romania. Everything looks fine. Thank you guys so much. Cool. I see that we have a critical mass of people that have joined, so we are going to go ahead and get started. Lori, thanks for joining from North Carolina. We're going to go ahead and dive in. So on today's agenda, we have free tools worth knowing. And then directly after that, actually on the free tools, we're going to spend roughly about 10 to 15 minutes. It's just to help you get oriented with the important things on the site that are also free and definitely worth knowing. And then after that, we're going to dive into all of the InvestingPro features, namely ideas, ProPicks AI, fair value, health score, ProTips, warrant AI, and chart analysis. A little bit of housekeeping before we begin. A recording of this webinar will be sent via email, hopefully directly after the webinar has finished recording. Worst case scenario, it will be sent off tomorrow morning. And of course, at the end of the webinar, we usually dedicate around 5 to 10 minutes for a Q&A session to answer all of your questions. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Excellent. So I see that my screen is already zoomed into 125%. So hopefully everybody can see things with clarity. So I want to orient this webinar. This is less about how to identify technical trading opportunities and things of that nature. This is more about showing you guys what the features are, where you can find them on the site, and how you can leverage them to become a smarter investor. So before I begin, let me just give you a little bit of insight into what Investing.com is. Investing.com is a news analysis and data aggregator. We are connected to almost every single global exchange. We offer translations for 33 unique languages and editions. And if you'd like to dial the site into your native exchange or your native language, all you need to do is just hover over the flag icon in the top right corner of the screen and select the language or the edition that you wish. So I'm not going to spend too much time on the homepage, but there are two key areas that I do want to highlight for you. So if you scroll down, you can see the most undervalued and overvalued stocks. This is, of course, predicated on our fair value calculator, which is a paid feature. So you can just see the top list of the most overvalued and undervalued according to our fair value system. So it's available here on the homepage. We'll speak more about exactly what fair value is comprised of in just a little bit, but I did want to highlight it for you that it is available here on the homepage. And then, of course, we have this wonderful unit to the right, which we call the workstation. It's super helpful when you're trying to jump from different places on the site. You can, of course, use the navigation bar at the top of the screen here, but the workstation I find is just a little bit easier to use, and you can dial in charts like commodities or bonds, or you can ask Warrant AI a question directly. You can quickly jump to ProPicks AI, which is our AI system of selecting stocks, or jump to your watch list, quickly check the alerts that you've sent. We're going to dig into more into how you can set them up and the different types of alerts that you can set up. And of course, breaking news. Cool. So why don't we get started with the first free feature that I'd like to showcase, which is the economic calendar. You can find it in the top navigation bar over here. So essentially, what is the economic calendar? it showcases economic events, either global or local, that may impact your trading. You can select either today, tomorrow, this week, or next week, or custom dates, depending on your preferences. You can also select your time zone. As you can see, I'm based in Tel Aviv, Israel, so I'm dialed into GMT +2. And then, of course, the time that is to the left over here in this column, you can either display it as far as the time remaining to this particular announcement or the time itself. So I personally like to display the time remaining until the announcement because it just helps orient the ship a little bit better for me personally. Now, why don't we go into showcasing the filters themselves? If you click on this button over here, you can select any particular country that you wish. I am uniquely focused on the United States, so I'll just go ahead and select it from the list. And I can also choose to showcase economic events according to specific categories like employment or credit or bonds, central banks, what have you. And of course, the level of importance, high being lowering my noise to signal ratio, so only the most important economic events are surfaced for me, or I can choose to select all of them and then get the whole range of economic events. I personally like to lower my noise to signal ratio, so I'm only going to select only the most important economic events that are happening within the United States. Now I can see that today we had the unemployment rate announcement, which was forecasted to increase by 4.4%. We see that there was an actual beat. But let's say that I didn't know what this particular event was. I can, of course, just click on the event, and it'll send me to a page that gives me more context about what this particular event is, prior release dates if it's a recurring event, and of course associated news and analysis. Why don't we go ahead and take a look at what is on the ledger for the rest of the week. I usually like to come in at the beginning of the week, take a look at what's on the ledger for the entire week, and then come in on a day like Wednesday in the middle of the week in order to see what else is on the ledger for the remainder of the week. So I can see that we have a CPI announcement that's going to be happening on Friday. Just go ahead and quickly zoom in into what that is. It's a consumer price index. It measures the change in the price of goods and services from the perspective of the consumer. This is pretty important. So let's say that I wanted to be notified of when this particular announcement is happening. All I need to do is just click on the bell icon over here. If it's a recurring event, it'll give me the option of setting an alert to always receive an alert about this particular announcement. I'm going to go ahead and send a reminder, let's say 30 minutes before. Delivery method, website, pop-up, mobile app, no notification. The choice is yours. And I'm going to go ahead and create my alert. And I see that the alert was created successfully. Now, I'm going to show you exactly where you can modify or adjust the alerts that you've set in just a little bit. But while we're still on this page, I did want to showcase to you the other types of calendars that we have. The number one is the earnings calendar. Just give it a second to load up here. This is of course filtered only to the US. It's filtered on all the different sectors. I have the ability to select any type of sector that I want, and of course the level of importance. I'm always going to select only the most important events. I can see that today Cisco is announcing their earnings. Just make sure there's no slider at the bottom. Cisco is announcing their earnings today. AppLovin, which is also a stock that I'm following, is also announcing their earnings. Will be really interesting to see how the share price reacts to their earnings later today. And also here, I can see these little icons. This is happening after market close or before market open. So it's also just a handy indicator to know when earnings are going to be released. Excellent. And there's a slider at the top here for more information. Just FYI. Amazing. And then, of course, we have dividends and splits and IPOs and expirations. You can see that the page here is a little different because we are currently going through refactoring all these different pages. So as we roll them out, they will start to take on this particular design. So now that we've set an alert either for an economic event or for earnings, I want to be able to, number one, know where all my alerts are. Number two, adjust them if need be. So the way that I would do that is I would hover over my profile icon, click on Alert Center. And now I can see all of the economic event alerts that I have here. We have the initial jobless claims, which we took a look at just before, and then also the consumer price index alert that we had set just now. If I want to remove it, I can. If I want to adjust it, I have the ability to. If I just want to shut it off for today, I have the ability to do that as well. So the Alert Center is also houses all of the different types of alerts, whether that's earnings or whether that's an instrument alert, which I'm going to show you how to set up in just a moment, as well as the authors that you are following, and of course, the different types of analysis and news that you're following. So why don't we go ahead and take a look at the other types of alerts that we can set? Why don't we use our trusty example of AppLovin? So here I am on the equity overview page, which is indicated over here. And over here I have a bell icon to the right. So I have a couple of different options for setting price alerts. I can either choose to set it if it moves above or below a certain total amount, or if it changes, either gains or loses a specific percentage. I can choose to set this only once or on a recurring basis. I can also choose to set an alert based on trading volume and, of course, earnings as well. So why don't we just go ahead and set this alert, send me one reminder day before the trading day, which unfortunately is not going to happen for today because we're already trading today, but at least in the future, I will be aware of earnings releases for AppLovin, and I'm going to go ahead and create that. Excellent. So you'll see here a lot of other interesting information, which is the company's health, also fair value. We're going to dig into all of these wonderful metrics in detail in just a moment, but I'm showing you this particular equity page because there are differences between the free version and the paid version of InvestingPro. The equity pages look a little bit different, and the reason for that is because this equity overview page is meant for top line data and items, and the InvestingPro dashboard, which I'm going to show you in 5 to 10 minutes from now, is meant for deeper research, and you're going to see the differences between them. But over here, you can just get a top line idea of what the company's health is, or what the fair value or the upside of this particular stock is in relation to our fair value calculator and all the different investing models that we use to come up with this value. You can see the technical analysis, what the sentiment is, what the analyst sentiment is, and what their upside is. And of course, pro tips. On this overview page, you only get one pro tip. On the InvestingPro dashboard equity page, you get access to all of them, which is usually 15 to 20. Some key statistics as well. You have the ability to modify this as you see fit. I'm not going to go into too much detail on this right now because it's pretty self-explanatory. Below that, you have news and analysis. You have the technical analysis as well. Comparisons between their peers and their sector. Earnings. And of course, a unit that I particularly like, which is people also watch. So essentially, members that have AppLovin in their portfolio also watch and have these other stocks inside their portfolio. It's just an interesting tool to use for idea generation. Now, we are, the next thing I want to show you guys is the news. You can find it in the top over here. It's split between different points of interest like analyst ratings, transcripts, or earnings. The most important one, if you're a pro subscriber, is the Pro News, as this is a paywalled feature. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to click on it. And then, again, we're not going to go too much into the different news items themselves because, again, it is pretty self-explanatory. But what I did want to highlight for you are some of the tabs that I personally find interesting, like earnings. It's a really good way for me during earnings season just to quickly peruse through the different headlines just to make sure that I didn't miss anything that might affect my investments. Beyond that, we also have SWOT analysis, which is predicated on our investing research reports, where I'll show you how to get those in a moment. And of course, analyst ratings, and for the data nerds like myself that like to dig into all of the minutia on these earnings calls, we have the transcripts available for you here. Quickly moving on to analysis. Our analysis is also broken down by different themes like editor's picks, market overview, commodities, crypto, bonds, ETFs. why don't we go ahead and take a look at a particular analysis article. This is by Jesse, who is one of the prolific authors here on Investing.com. I personally follow him, recommend that you do too. And the reason I'm showing you this is because sometimes you'll see a headline that piques your interest, but unfortunately you don't have the time at the moment to read it. So if you'd like to save it for later, all you need to do is just click on the bookmark icon over here at the top. You see that it's saved. And then if I wanted to take a look at my saved items, all I need to do is hover over my profile icon and then click on saved items. And here I have it broken down by the last 24 hours or older. I can filter it by news, analysis, comments, anything that I like. The choice is yours. And if we quickly jump back to the article that Jesse wrote, if I want to be notified of future analysis articles that come out that Jesse wrote, if I'm not following, all I need to do is just click on the follow button. And of course, I will be notified in my alert center when Jesse writes another article. See, I have here, I'm also following Steve Saville, so I have this in an easy to retrieve feed. Let's just quickly jump back to our alert center. And you can see all of the authors that I'm following over here. All right, so just trying to triangulate all of that information for you. So now that we've covered the economic calendar and the interesting points of news and analysis, why don't we take a look at another key free feature, which is the stock screener, which can be found here at the top. So what is a stock screener? For those of you that don't know, it's a really easy way to filter for stock ideas based on your specific investing needs and requirements. I'm currently focused, this screen is currently focused on the US market. And we see that within the US market, in that universe, there is roughly about almost 7,900 entries within the US market. Now, let's say I'm a novice investor and I don't really know specific metrics to dial in and I'm looking for inspiration. I can select any of these preset screens and I can see the full list if I click on explore screens at the right here. And then we've broken these down based on investing theme like value, growth, momentum, dividends, for example, so on and so forth. So why don't we go ahead and dig into value? And we'll look at overvalued stocks, which are stocks that have a 3-month return of, on average, 17.6%. So let's go ahead and apply it. Great. So we see that already our universe of almost 7,900 stocks has been whittled down to about 1,600, right? So if I wanted to see which attributes have been placed inside this particular filter, I can see the fair value upside is less than 0.15%. So that is the only particular metric that's been dialed in for this particular filter. Why don't we go ahead and add in a couple of other attributes? Why don't we take a look at EPS growth is positive, and we see that our universe is getting smaller and smaller. Let's get a favorable PEG ratio. We're going down to from 900 to 300, and return on invested capital is positive. So as I keep on adding metrics, my universe of stocks inside this screen keeps on getting lower and lower. And of course, as you continue to go along, you'll see that this number continues to go down and down, and it surfaces more higher value stocks for you to begin your due diligence on. So noting that for those of you who are not Apple product users that can just easily use your fingers to swipe left and right on the information here, there is a slider here at the bottom, so I do recommend that you remember that. And of course, I like to focus on one thing at a time, so I'm going to lower my amount of results down to 10, but if you'd like more results, then you can feel free to dial this into your own preferences. Great, so once I've set up my screen, I have a couple of different ways that I can slice and view this data. The overview just gives me kind of, as it's in the name, it kind of just gives you an overview of what these kind of companies are, what their market cap is, date changes, what their fair value estimate is, what the upside is or the downside. All of these columns are sortable, so you can dial this in, move them around according to how you see fit. And then we have valuation and returns and technical. So again, I don't want to dig in too much into ways of optimizing the screener because there's just so many features that we need to touch on. So I did want to flag this for you that this is a free feature, and as a paid subscriber, you simply just get access to more and more information and the ability to customize any one of these views. Excellent. So now that we've more or less covered the free features, why don't we go ahead and dig into the Investing Pro features. So in order to get to the Pro dashboard, I click on the button in the top right corner of the screen over here, and I am instantly transported to what we call the Pro dashboard. Great. So the way that I would like to orient this walkthrough is from the top down. So the idea here is to surface ways of generating investing ideas. And then once I have a short list of ideas, how do I go about vetting these ideas and doing due diligence on them fast in order to isolate those one or two super premium ideas in order for me to do really deep due diligence on later, and then maybe select only one or two trades to actually make. So just one moment, please. If you go ahead and click on the Ideas tab over here, the idea behind Ideas tab is that there's a lot of prolific investors over the years that probably know a thing or two about the market. So wouldn't it be great if we could not only see what's inside their portfolios and their holdings, but also potentially copy them either to make a mock portfolio or a watch list in order to see how things are progressing, or to actually just copy what they're doing. So that's essentially what we did with Ideas. If you know of a particular investment theme or a famous investor, you can go ahead and you can type it into the search. If you don't know, if you're just getting started, you can also break this down or filter this by investor type, like billionaire, hedge fund, or trust, or venture capital, or based on any particular sector focus. So why don't we use the example of Bill Ackman, who is a pretty prolific investor. And we can see who this investor is. He's the founder of Pershing Square Capital Management. He thinks of himself as a contrarian investor and also as an activist investor. So in this particular portfolio, it's worth roughly about $14.6 billion. The quarter over quarter change is about 6.7%. He has 11 stocks in this particular portfolio. Here's the last filing date and, of course, their most recent filings. This is Bill Ackman's portfolio performance over the course of different timeframes, and the benchmark here is the S&P 500. And then the most interesting part here are what is actually inside this portfolio. So I can see that he has about $3 billion worth of Uber technology. It comprises roughly 20% of the portfolio. Directly below that is Brookfield Corporation at $2.8 billion. He holds $1.5 billion worth of Alphabet, Amazon, more Alphabet, Chipotle, Hilton, and Hertz Global. Now, if I wanted to get an understanding of how diversified this portfolio is, then I can just take a look at the sector concentration. I see it's about 21% in hotels, 21% ground transportation, capital markets, real estate management. You get the idea. And then, of course, here we have all of the filings over the course of time that you can download and review offline or share with your friends. So another way that you can surface ideas is by using ProPicks. So what is ProPicks AI? It's essentially an AI that we created that takes the human element out of this and just looks at hundreds of different data points and surfaces high conviction stock ideas. So we then break these stock selections into different strategies based on themes. So for example, our flagship strategy is Tech Titans, and we are selecting the top 15 tech stocks each month. We offer ProPicks AI, I believe, in about 26 different countries, all with different focuses like value or profit or small cap, mid cap, fund, and quality. So I invite you to take a look at all of the different countries and all of the different strategies. Before we actually dive into how ProPicks is constructed, I did want to let you know that all of these strategies are rebalanced every single month, meaning we remove the ones that are yielding a loss, and we also remove the ones that the system has identified as not having as good an upside as a potential new entry. We notify members of the strategy rebalances a couple days before it happens on site. And on the day of, which is the first of every month, we also send out an email, push notifications, on-site messaging. So we try to do the best that we can in order to notify members that the strategy rebalance has happened. So why don't we go ahead and take a look at Tech Titans. So at the top here, you have we're benchmarking performance against the S&P 500 ever since this backtest was started, which is in 2013. That's when the data for this particular backtest is started. We have the total return, the annualized return, which is about 30%, and the risk here also, which is a medium risk. Now, one of the questions that we got pretty often is, why was a stock removed or added, and how can I know when this happens? So if I wanted to take a look at any month that this strategy has been available for, so why don't we go ahead and take a look at December. I can see all of the movement that happened in December here in the PIX history. I can see the action, whether it was added, whether it was removed. I can see the return at the exit, whether or not this is live, or what the change was when this action happened, and also, of course, the price when this particular entry was added to the strategy. So why don't we go ahead and take a look at this month. Let's take a look at February. If I wanted to know why Ultra Cleans was added, I'll just zoom in for you just to make it a little bit easier. Come on, render. Okay, there we go. So I can see that Ultra Clean Holdings, it's delivered exceptional market performance, 96% return over the past 6 months, 72% in the last month alone. It's showing powerful momentum. Recent EPS of 28 cents exceeded analyst expectations by 27%. So it essentially gives me all the reasons as to why it's been added to this particular strategy. Now, as we go down the list, we see that there are entries like SanDisk, which were removed after a gain of 100 and almost 90%, which is fantastic. So why don't we go ahead and take a look at why this particular entry was removed. The reason it was rotated out is due to the relative valuation and volatility considerations after exceptional price appreciation. Essentially, the system identified a stock that has more potential upside, and therefore it's removed SanDisk out of this strategy as it feels that this new entry has a higher conviction to yield a return. And of course, if you continue scrolling down the list, we see ON Semiconductor also had a significant yield, Amkor, Teradyne, Microchip. So for the Tech Titan strategy, it had a really good month of quote unquote exits of removing stocks that had a very decent gain. And of course, unfortunately, not all entries can be winners. So we also notify you of items that have been removed, what the percentage loss was, and of course, the reason for removing this particular entry. Just zoom out a little bit. There we go. So you see to the right here where you have something called Pro Research. Let's just go ahead and take a quick look at what this is. This is essentially our AI ingesting all of the relevant data available for this particular stock and comprising an executive summary of all of the available data for this particular stock. So for example, you get an executive summary of UCTT. It's got powerful sustained demand driven by AI. Directly below that, we have all the pro tips. I'll show you exactly in more detail what the pro tips are. I have the revenue flow chart, where and how they're spending their money. And of course, one of my favorite things, which are the bull case and the bear case, why I should buy the stock, why I should get rid of this stock, and of course, some additional insights. This is in PDF format, so you can download it, share it with your friends. Choice is yours. Excellent. So directly below the PIX history, we have a stock spotlight. Here, I can dial this in for either outperformers, new additions, or underperformers. I can see that stocks that are still in this strategy, like Onto Innovation, it's up 48% since it was added back in December. It's had a really nice run. UCTT, which we just took a look at, was recently added. Since then, had a bit of a dip and then a nice uptick. And of course, Skyworks, which also had a decent uptick as well. Let's take a look at some of the underperformers. OTEX is down 22%. This stock is still in the strategy. The system identified that there is still more potential upside, hopefully, to be had. So it is still inside the strategy. Let's take a look at some new additions. So it's kind of, excuse me, it's kind of a mixed bag at the moment, but the month still has yet to play out. So hopefully things that are negative will turn around. Excellent. So now that I have identified two ideas in ProPicks AI to generate an idea, let's say that I now have an idea that I want to do, or a list of, let's say, 10 ideas that I want to do a quick due diligence on in order to narrow down that list to 1 or 3 items so that I can focus on them and really dig into all of the relevant data in order to help me make my decision. So what I'll do is use another trusty example. Let's use Cirrus Logic. Just as a disclaimer, I have not made any positions in Cirrus Logic over the past 72 hours. This is surely for demonstrative purposes. So at the top here, you'll notice that this equity overview page is very different than the one that's on the Investing.com site. There's a lot more data to be had here, and that's because the Pro dashboard, again, is meant for deeper research. So here I have the share price. Here's been the day change so far. Here's the 52-week range. And then to the right of this, I have fair value. So what is fair value? Fair value is a system that we've created that uses up to 17 different investing models in order to generate or compare the company's current book of business versus what the current share price is. So we're taking a look at how this company has operated according to the actual data versus what the market sentiment is. We're then also assigning an uncertainty label and also showcasing what the potential upside is in relation to the current share price. And of course, according to the available models, what the share price should be by combining all of these models together. So let's say that I'm a more experienced investor, and for me personally, 5-year DCF revenue exit doesn't really mean that much. Cool, so I'm gonna remove it. You'll see that the potential upside has changed in addition to what the average fair value dollar amount should be. See, it continues to change if I remove or add any particular model. Now, here at Investing.com, we're not big fans of black boxes. We like to be as transparent as we possibly can when we can. So let's say I wanted to understand how the fair value system came up with a dollar value or fair value estimate of EV to revenue multiples of $148.37. All I would need to do is click on here, and it'll send me to the models page. We were here in overview, and now when I click on this particular model, it sends me to the models page. And here I have all of the relevant data, all of the calculations, all of the formulas that I need. I also have the companies that we're using to benchmark this performance, historical revenue growth, current trading multiples, low, mid, and high, according to the different models that we're looking at in order to help us draw this average. Equity waterfall, financials, historical multiples, all of this information is easily retrievable and viewable for you in order for, number one, for you to have peace of mind to double check our work. Number two, if you do see an error, please let us know and we will fix it immediately. Cool. So this would be step one in my lightning quick due diligence journey, right? So now that I have a basic sense of what the upside might be and what the potential fair value price could be, the next thing I want to look at is how is this company performing in terms of company health. So what is financial health? It's essentially determined by ranking the company on over 100 factors against companies in this particular sector, which is the information technology sector, and also operating in developed economic markets. So essentially what we're doing is we're taking a look at ARC values, such as relative value, profitability, price momentum, growth, and cash flow. We're rolling all of those ARC metrics up into a single overall health label on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being really, really bad and 5 being excellent. In this particular case, Cirrus Logic has gotten a grade of 4 out of 5. So again, in the spirit of transparency, let's say I wanted to understand why price momentum was given a 4 out of 5 label. All I need to do is just click on it. I'm taken to the health tab. We were here, overview, and now we're going to health. And I wanted to take a look at profitability. So here are all of the internal metrics that are rolled up into the profitability arc metric. I can see what the value is. I can see how it performs in relation to its sector and peers in terms of a percentile, what the associated score is, and most importantly, the history of this particular score and how it might have fluctuated over time. And I can go ahead and I can run down the line, fixed asset turnover, and I can see historically how this company performs on this particular metric. To the right of this, we have different time views with all of these metrics rolled up into one in order just to give you a quick overview. And of course, this latest period is essentially this information just comprised in a different way. It also gives you ranges. So for example, if I wanted to see the latest period of cash flow health in terms of cash divided by total capital, I can see that the value is 11%. It ranks 41% in terms of a percentile, giving it a score of 2.0. If I wanted to understand how we came up with this calculation, I just click on it and it sends me to the Data Explorer tab, specifically for Cirrus Logic. It explains to me what this metric and data point is, what the definition is, the formula for it, a summary, sector benchmarks and analysis, just so much information related to just one metric, which is part of a much larger picture that company health and financial health is painting for you, the user, to help you speed up your due diligence. Great. So now that we've covered 2 out of 3 of the lightning due diligence, the next component to this would be ProTips. So what is ProTips? Again, it's another warning system that we've created to surface the most important attributes about a company in a quick and easy to understand way. So for example, something that's in favor of the company, such as a perfect Petrosky score of 9, is labeled in green with a green bull. Something that is neutral is kind of a gray meh face. And then for Cirrus Logic, it seems to be doing really well. So our system hasn't really identified anything negative about it, but let's take a look at another example, end phase. Another disclaimer, have not made any entries or exits on end phase in the last 72 hours, purely for demonstrative purposes. And here we can see on end phase, RSI suggests the stock is in overbought territory, which is a bad thing. So let's say I wanted to understand why this is a bad thing. I just go ahead and I click on it. And the relative strength index, it's an indicator used in technical analysis, and it gauges the speed and change of price movement. Right? Here is how end phase compares in relation to its peers. Here's the peer average, and we see that end phase is over it. We see the relative strength index over the last 14 days for end phase is 71.314 and above peers. Here's the sector benchmark in terms of analysis and other associated data. So let's jump back to Cirrus Logic. Here we go. Let's zoom out a little bit. There we go. Cool. So let's take a look at something that's good. We see cash flows can sufficiently cover interest payments. Why is this a good thing? So the reason that it's good, it indicates strong interest coverage ratio. The ratio calculated by dividing a company's earnings before interest and taxes measures the firm's ability to pay interest on its debt. Here's the benchmark. Here's where Cirrus Logic is in relation to its peers. And here's the associated income and balance sheet data, and of course, historical trends. So what I love about it is that it's a quick flag. If it piques your interest, you have all the information, supporting information, in order for you to better understand why this is a good thing or a bad thing. So this is what I tell my friends and family. If you hear of an investing idea, either from a friend or from a news article, or whatever the case may be, you have access to InvestingPro. One of the easiest ways for you to know whether or not you want to continue pursuing this as an idea is just take a look at the fair value. Is it green? Yes or no? Take a look at the financial health. Is it green? Yes or no? Take a look at the pro tips. Is there more green than red? Yes or no? Excellent. So if all the things are green, there's a pretty good chance that this is something that you should put on your further due diligence list in order for you to look into the financials and other associated data to help you make smarter investing decisions. Now, we're going to quickly review what's left on this overview, on this equity overview page. You have some price history and, of course, peer benchmarks, value, size, growth in relation to the peers and sector, and, of course, the news, which is pretty important for stocks like biomedical stocks and things of that nature. All of these widgets are customizable, so you can move them around or delete them according to your preferences, and, of course, add any notes that you wish. Great. So the next thing that I want to focus on, excuse me, guys. It's a little dry here in the office. I apologize. So the next thing I want to focus on is Warren AI and chart analysis. So I can find Warren AI here in the left-hand navigation menu. So what is Warren AI and how is it different than, let's say, ChatGPT or Perplexity or Claude or any one of those companies? So essentially boils down to two key differences. Number one is, how is the large language model created? Is it engineered for a specific purpose? Is it general purpose? Warren AI is specifically engineered to answer financial questions, as opposed to ChatGPT, which might be more general purpose, or like Microsoft Copilot, which is also primarily general purpose. So this is geared towards answering financial questions only. The other component to this is, what is the data that is attached to this large language model? Warren AI is attached to the real-time data that millions of Investing.com members use on a daily basis. And ChatGPT sources from the entire internet. It adds different weights to different data sources. And also, in some cases, those data sources might be outdated for real-time trading purposes. It might be surfacing an article, a data point from an article that was written 3 months ago. So to summarize, Warren AI, specifically formatted for answering investing questions. The other component is that it's attached to real-time data that millions of customers and members rely on a daily basis. So right now we're in earnings season, and I just asked Warren AI today, what does it think about AppLovin, and what might be the results on the share price if things are positive or negative? So here it gives me an executive summary. We're heading into earnings today. It had a pretty wild month. It lost 31% in the last month. Might be due for a potential rebound. It identifies the price swings, what's priced in, what the analyst's mood are, what the growth narrative is. If earnings disappoint, so it's kind of giving you the for and against argument. If earnings disappoint, if earnings beat, what are some of the key metrics for you to watch? Here's the value, and here's what Warren's take is. It also surfaces all the charts, so we can actually visualize the tension here. And of course, the price action itself. And here's the final takeaway. So tonight, earnings are a high stakes event. If results and guidance beat, then AppLovin could stage a face-melting rally. If not, expect a sharp drawdown towards fair value. So what I like about this is that it kind of takes all the guesswork out. And again, any person that even is not technically inclined or is not a technical trader can ask a question, hey, should I buy this stock or not? And Warren will be able to give you its take based on real-time data. It literally does not get better than that. Beyond that, it's also engineered to answer non-linear questions. So for example, I asked it a while back. Here, let me see if I can find this. Okay, so a while back, and I think President Trump is still kind of banging on the table for this, is that he wanted to cut interest rates down to 1%. So I was curious, like, what the impact would be on the stock market or cryptocurrency and real estate. And then I asked it if I had to guess which stocks would see the largest increase as a direct result, then what would those stocks be and why? Here, I'll just zoom in a little bit more. And it gave me a really great answer. Gave me a historical playbook after what happened in the 2008 crisis. The cycle's likely winners, specific industries, and growth in tech and financial and consumers, what their impact would be to real estate, impact would be to crypto, sector stands out, which specific companies might stand to gain from this, and of course, the key takeaways. It also asks you follow-up questions, like if you wanna like rank a list of top S&P 500 stocks, the highest fair value upside if the rates fell to 1%. So it also asks you follow-up questions. So I invite you to ask it direct questions and also some other further esoteric questions, and see the results that you get. So going back to what I first showed you about earnings for AppLovin, we also offer another feature called chart analysis, and let me show you where you can find that on the site. Okay, let's just go to any, yeah, let's actually go to the page, AppLovin. So chart analysis is only available on the Investing.com equity pages. So if you're looking for it in the Pro dashboard, you're not going to find it. So you got to come to the Investing.com equity page, and here you can find it. It says Analyze Chart. I had already asked it for a 1-day perspective, and it already generated it for me here, and I'll show you what that looks like right now. So when you click on Analyze Chart, number one, asking a regular question to Warren AI will cost you 1 credit, and chart analysis, because of the technical debt that's involved with it, it's a little bit more expensive and it costs 5 credits instead of 1 credit. But the value that you get is just absolutely fantastic. So it gives you a summary of how the stock is currently trading today and what's on the ledger, whether that's earnings or other associated economic events. It gives you the bear case and the bull case. And it literally spells out for you entry and exit points, stop losses, targets, what the confidence is, who this particular strategy is best for, and what to expect. Pattern and risk education, how to set this up, key lessons, and of course, the price chart directly below it. So this is truly, truly fantastic, and the day trader members in our of our InvestingPro member group are super excited and using this almost every single day, and I invite you to do the same. Now, that I believe more or less sums up our walkthrough for today. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to quickly recap some of the things that we went over today. So number one, do create alerts for economic earnings and dividend announcements. Do follow authors and save articles for later. Oh, that's what I forgot. I knew I was forgetting something. Sorry about that, guys. Cool. So let's just quickly jump back. We're going to go to watch list. So now that you understand how fair value works and company health and Warren AI and all the other wonderful features, I did want to show you another key component here in your watch list. Here, I'm just going to go ahead and delete this guy because I want to show you how to create it. Amazing. So as an InvestingPro subscriber, you get access to these 4 default views: market view, risk, efficiency, and health. These are fully customizable, so you can add or remove any one of these items as you see fit. The way for you to optimize, the way for you to modify these, any of these columns here is by clicking on the plus sign over here. And then adding or removing here. Adding is here, and removing an existing entry is over here. You can search for any metric that you want. Or of course, you can select based on theme and then just select it from the list. If I want to add in another entry to my portfolio, I do that by clicking on the plus sign in this column over here. And of course, there's a slider on the bottom. So one of the metrics that you can select, and this is what I've chosen to do for market view, are days to next earning, and of course the next earnings date itself. So instead of always having to set alerts and reminders for when earnings dates are, I can either just go to the economic calendar, or I could just literally pipe it directly into my watch list. So I personally found that very helpful. But let's say I wanted to create my own view, which I do. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Add View. And let's say that I'm a dividend investor. So why don't we go ahead and create a dividend lens. Excellent. So just make sure you select the view that you've just created from the list in order to pipe metrics into it. So I'm going to go ahead and select dividends. Let's say I don't know what shadow rule number is, and I don't. I just hover over the information icon and it tells me exactly what any particular metric is. So for the sake of demonstration, why don't we just go ahead and add in dividend growth streak, payment streak. Let's look at 7-year CAGR. Dividend coverage ratio, which is the ratio that measures the cash cushion so that the company can continue paying this dividend. And the cash amount of the last dividend, and I think that's enough. Let's go ahead and save our changes. And here, I now have a brand new dividend lens, which will surface all of the wonderful dividend metrics that I'm looking for. So why am I telling you this? Beyond the watch list, this dividend lens is now ported over into many other areas of the site. So for example, ProPicks, if I click on the portfolio, by doing so, it will show me all of the entries in this strategy based on any particular month. And here my dividend lens has been piped in to the current live list of the Titan strategy. Unfortunately, we don't offer views for past entries on previous months. It only is relevant for the currently live strategies. But it's not only ported over in ProPicks, it's also piped into ideas. Let's just take a quick look at Warren Buffett. If I scroll all the way down, I see my dividend lens holdings over here. So if you've already set up a view, it's just super useful to have it just instantly ported over into other areas of the site. Also like the screener as well. Amazing. So having said that, we are now done with the webinar for today. So do create a watch list to see the fair value and health of your assets. Do personalize by creating views. Use ideas, ProPicks AI, under and overvalued stocks like I showed you on the homepage, and the screener for idea generation. Do use Warren AI and ProTips to help speed up due diligence. Use Analyze Chart to spot and vet trade scenarios. And of course, next week we have a flash sale. So do take advantage of that. If you're not currently a subscriber, take advantage of the discounts there. And if you are a subscriber, use those discounts to either switch from monthly to yearly or to upgrade from Pro to Pro Plus. Now that this is done, I am going to earmark the next 5 minutes for your questions. So hit me in the chat. So is there an API to ProPicks? At the moment, there is not an API to ProPicks. Margaret, I've internalized your feedback. Again, there's a lot of information to cover here. We run these webinars once every 2 weeks, and we upload them to our YouTube channel. We're also going to send this to you in an email in order for you to review it at your own leisure. So I have a question from Lital. Is the analysis only fundamental or also technical? And is this suitable for swing trading or only for long-term investments? I believe that you're referring to the chart analysis. It's also meant for day trading. It could be used for multiple purposes. Long-term, short-term. You could also dial it into your prompt, specifically the analysis that you're looking for, whether that's fundamental or technical. So I have another question from D. Suggums. Can the economic calendar for earnings and dividends be filtered down to my stocks? I think the best way to do that would be to do it directly through your watch list. Excuse me. Let's see if we can hack this together. So regarding the earnings in market view, as I showed before, I just added in days to next earnings and next earnings date. And then if you wanted to do dividends, you could probably do the same thing. Here, let's just use the dividend lens. Here it's not this one, but this one. And then dividend date. So maybe if we can filter it for here. Yeah, that's days to next earning. X date of last dividend, or yeah, X date of upcoming dividend. Let's take a look. And I can see that for Google, it's on March 9th. For Microsoft Corporation, that will be on February 19th, so in the next couple of days. Is there data on options? In terms of, I believe there is. Let's take a quick look. I think this is in relation to the economic calendar. Daniel, is that correct? I see. Options, Daniel, I'll have to get back to you. I believe there should be data on options. Yeah, I'm just not entirely sure exactly where it is on the site, but I will get back to you. And then we have another question from Econ Sam. Would it be possible to see a specific stock if it had entered ProPicks AI or was entered and taken out? It's an interesting question. There's no search capability in order for you to do that. It's an interesting idea. Do you mind writing in the chat what the utility of that search feature might be? I mean, again, if you wanted to search, you'd have to do it manually, and you'd need to do it through the portfolio, and then just look at. I mean, you could sort it alphabetically, so that might be able to help speed things up. But there's no clear search. Super interesting. I'd love to understand the utility, and if it proves out, then we will build it. Excellent. All right. Econ Sam is saying 1 second, please. Sure. We will give you that second, Sam. So the purpose of adding a search to see if a specific stock has ever been added to a ProPick strategy would be to understand the viewpoint of the ProPicks AI selection on specific stocks. So would this be an indicator for you that at some point this would be something that's in favor of the company? I'm assuming. Like, would you use that as some sort of signal that that is in favor of the company if it was ever on a ProPicks AI strategy? I mean, it's interesting. Maybe we could add the rationale as part of the overview page itself. It's interesting. I will explore this with the product team. It's a very interesting concept. Okay, that's all the time we have for today, unfortunately. Thank you so much for joining, and I will see you on the next webinar. Bye-bye.